Hi, how y'all doing? Welcome to Hey Boo. I'm Jackie,
I'm
and
Christy.
I'm Jen.
how is everybody doing? How was y'all week this week?
Good. How was yours?
Good. I had Dakota.
Yeah. Does that mean it wasn't good?
I had Dakota.
That's all
Hey,
you.
Jackie.
Hi.
That's Jennifer Lee.
Hi, Jen.
Hi.
That's the only thing I have to say about my weekend. I had Dakota.
Well, you know. Hey, Steven.
Hi,
Oh,
Stephen.
I forgot to put comments on.
Hi, Paula.
Hey, Rick James.
So today, this is our last week on hospitals, right?
Yeah.
Next week we'll be in October. Halloween's coming up so fast.
I need one of these
I
on
like Halloween.
it.
So this week we're talking about Zelda Fitzgerald's Sanatorium. And I think it's in New York City, right?
It is. It's actually called the Craig House.
The Craig House, yeah.
Now it original. Okay, so Joseph Howland was a Civil War general who
Excuse me, ladies. Yeah.
aw, developed PTSD while at war.
He had pickle juice on them.
I
Yeah.
love
Mhm.
pickle juice. I love that stuff.
but but he developed PTSD while at the war. So when he came home, his primary focus was finding quality care for mental health. And back in that day, the mental health facilities were very, very, very substandard. And you couldn't find privatized mental health facilities until him, basically, because he created the very first privatized mental health facility in the US. Um, Let me see. Looks like the Howland died in 1886. His wife never returned. It originally was called Taronda before it
Mm-hmm.
became the Craig House. Um, it sat empty until 1917. And then they sold it to Dr. Jonathan Slocum, the actual building and the 200 acres that came with the property itself. So 1935, Fortune magazine rated Craig's House one of the top sanitariums in America for treatment on nervous disorders. It was first known as when the psychiatrist took over the building, it was first known as Slocum Sanitarium, and then later became Craig's House after a psychiatric facility in Scotland, which was the main focus of having people in a home-like environment. So, of course, back in the day, prior to privatized mental health facilities, it was set up basically like a hospital. Um, Now, granted, with some of the pictures that Howard sent me, I'm a little disturbed because to hear all the family members and things that gave account of their stays there and how fabulous this place was, it seems like there were still some things going on behind the scenes that we may not be made aware of. But they referred to the guests, their patients that came in, instead of calling them a patient, they referred to them as guests to make them feel more home and more warmy and not like a hospital stay. So they didn't call them patients. Zelda Fitzgerald, wife to F. Scott Fitzgerald, was treated there for depression. Um, Rosemary Kennedy, which was JFK's younger sister, was also treated there. After she had a botched lobotomy in another facility, she was transferred to this facility and she remained there for 3 years for treatment. Um, one thing I really found interesting, they invited the kids at the town in that town. They had an outdoor pool and they invited the local kids to come and swim and hang out at the
Wow.
pool.
Well, that
Maybe
was
it's,
part of the therapy.
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what I was
from
gonna
what I
say.
understand, that was part of the therapy to let them have some normalcy. And kids are amazing therapy. So I think that's
Yes.
awesome. But
It
they
is.
got, yeah, they were golfing, they were swimming, they were having these big fancy dinners. The idea behind it, what I understand, was just like talk therapy, just bringing them in, just making them feel like they belonged instead of shunning them, right, and putting them away. That was the idea behind the facility. Now, Howard did show us some pictures, and it was a long time ago. So some of those that we see now as archaic, they may have actually been a step up, though, from what was happening. In
And let's go to Howard has pictures. I have some pictures too, so we'll kind of jump there and we can talk as we look as well. Um, let's see. Let me get back to the beginning. Okay. Well, I just lost his tab. Hold that thought, ladies. Howard. Okay.
Are you looking through his treasure trove of pictures?
Okay. You got to do a bunch of clicking when you're secondary sharing. So I think Jackie, is it showing?
Yes.
Okay.
I put it
So,
on.
and this is what I was saying is disturbing. So if you look at that,
Cages.
it's basically small jail cells. And Howard said that from what he saw, it was in the basement of this facility. Now, like Jen said, I could be overthinking this because back then, I guess maybe this was designed to protect them and not torture them, but it just seems a little bit barbaric on the grand scheme of things, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's frightening to think that this is actually very upscale. That nobody complained. That everybody said how well their family was treated there, and even guests said that they were treated very well. Though, so it makes me think about the other places that they were getting treatment.
I don't know because I did read some stuff before I got the code, and they had a lot of people going on there saying that they were like in the hospital for treatment, and they were like treated bad.
Really?
They had some comments on it. Yeah.
For some reason, hang on, I'm trying to get his pictures back up.
I didn't find anything like that. I couldn't find anything like that.
Oh my goodness, look at Jason's hat. I can't with this man. I just can't.
He's one of the girls.
Oh, goodness gracious, have mercy.
Is he wearing that hat because it's cold outside?
He says it's cold. It is not cold, Jackie. It is not cold.
Jackie, it's in the 50s. It's cold.
That's cold.
No. You Louisiana people don't know what cold is.
When it
I
gets
don't
to
know.
the 50s, it is.
I don't know if it's per hat cold, but it is cold.
No. 50 is not cold.
Your friend said, hey.
All right, Jackie, do you see the photos?
Yes, I got it. It's up there.
Okay, let's see if we slide. Nope. And it's going to make me do each one individually. Okay, hold tight. We're gonna do this.
That's my dog. He's crying.
Doesn't sound happy.
No. He forgot to let him know.
Okay, share.
Greg's house.
Additions and alterations. Builder, architect, financing. I thought that was kind of neat that it was a sign that was in the facility.
Yes.
Next. Hold that thought. Now this is neat. This is an aerial view of the actual facility. Let's see. Here we go.
Yeah, that is neat.
So it's pretty massive, and you can't really tell by looking at it, but like I believe that this secondary building there on the left probably connects to the main mansion, because I think another photo I saw that didn't have all the brushery, I think it was a snow picture if I remember right. It looked like they were connected. And I want to say that probably, and this is just guessing, but I want to say that the smaller building over there would have been like the individual privatized bungalow huts, whatever, instead of staying in just one room in the main mansion. I could be wrong though. I've never been here. Just saying. Okay.
Yeah, that was a big mansion. So it was called the Craig's
House.
The Craig's house, and then it got changed to Zelda.
No. It's been 3 names.
Oh, 3 names.
And Zelda, she just stayed there. Fitzgerald just stayed there.
Oh,
and of course she's famous, so
So it's just kind of a nickname,
right?
That was given to it.
Okay, but this will cooperate with me. There's the one Howard sent of the beds. Hold that thought. There's okay. I found another one of the connecting building. Here we go.
Oh, okay. I see now.
So remember, like I was telling you, that it looked like the one building was connected to the other?
Yes.
So I believe that this was probably directly connected to the mansion.
Yes. Why don't you Google everything? You can look at it from the top.
Because there's trees in the way.
Oh, yeah,
so I can't see that. But I do have an aerial view. Thank you for the thought.
You know, I don't appreciate
the sarcasm.
Well,
I can't.
He was trying to be helpful.
I know. That's why I said I had an aerial view. But he's over there dancing and being goofy, trying to make me laugh. So don't think he's being all innocent. I'm just saying.
I hear you.
Okay, so here is a grand organ, pipe organ, that's in that building. Jason got back up. I can't. Look here. So can you imagine? So just a little background with me. So for almost 5 years, I worked at a mental health and rehab center. So even at the facility that I worked at and the inpatient unit that we have, it was nothing like this. It was nothing extravagant. You didn't have this type of entertainment. You didn't have this type of decor. You didn't have that homey, roomy setting that this
Yes.
mansion held. So, like Jen was saying earlier, the theme and the tone that they set was far beyond what it should have been then, because they basically created a homey environment for mental health services
Yes.
and mental health care.
Like
But
a 5-star resort.
exactly. Well, because it was designed for the wealthy, the elite. It was privatized. That's not to say that they didn't. I can't say that they didn't take on charity cases or whatever, but from everything that I read, it seemed to be for basically the elite, the rich and famous, which isn't a bad thing because everybody deserves mental health services. I'm just saying that had the other hospitals and facilities took this mindset and designed, at least on a lower scale, their buildings in this manner with the mindset of treating it more like home, friendliness, homey environment, it might have been different, and all the state hospitals might have not have been shut down.
Yeah.
Is my thought. Let's see. I think Howard sent. Hang on.
So has there been anybody that ever went in and investigated it? That's a good question.
I don't think so. From what I was reading was once it was closed, it was like closed down and locked up. I could be wrong, but I was trying to find out that too. And in 99, it closed and the doors were locked. And I believe we were just talking that it was bought again, right? And is going to be transformed into a hotel. But I don't think that it's ever been open in the meantime, at least not to the public, not like you could go in and tour it.
Yes.
And I couldn't find anything about investigating it. But I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, with pictures like this, wouldn't you think it's a little haunted?
Oh, there was definitely. So I guess while we're looking here, there was definitely. Okay, so did that change the picture to the hallway?
Yes.
Perfect. I think I figured out how to do it without losing the screen. Ha! Bam! You learn something new every day. Okay, I have a tap screen, so that's okay. Messing me up. Anyhow, so the claims was you hear door slamming, shouts, screams, and there is a ghost of a woman with long brown hair in one of the upstairs windows are the claims. Now, one of the articles that I did read, Jackie said that if you were wanting to go ghost hunting, you would need to do it prior to 2023 because the building was bought in 2018 by a hotel investor who is creating a 15-room boutique hotel. And then it said later on a 25,000 square foot Nordic spa with 20 treehouse suites.
Wow.
Just saying.
Awesome.
And we're all going to road trip there because who doesn't want to get a mani-pedi and be pampered and ghost hunt all at the same time?
In a
That
treehouse.
sounds great.
Exactly. It's a win-win. Okay.
Yes.
So can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So that appears to be like a den or dining room area by a fireplace. That's pretty fancy, y'all.
It is.
I mean,
Yes.
Can you imagine being treated for mental health services just sitting there hanging out by the fireplace?
I know. That's awesome.
And here's a hallway with the 2 chairs. I think, let's see. There's the bathroom. Howard wanted me to share the bathroom. We all know aquatic demonologists got to share the bathroom.
Yes.
But I wonder. So, what do you ladies think? Do you think that? Well, I would assume that the private huts have their own bathroom, but I wonder if you were in the main mansion. You know, a lot of mansions, every bedroom has their own bathroom.
Yes.
So I wonder if that's how this place was. You
Probably
know,
so.
was it that elaborate? Staircase. I don't know. What is that? What is that on the wall? Can y'all tell? Is that like a wheelchair lift, maybe?
I'm not sure what you're looking at.
Okay, so you got the railing. So you got the wooden. Let me see. Can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Okay. So this thing over here, you've got the railing. So I'm wondering if this would have been some sort of special lift that maybe a wheelchair thing was on this side, but not this side.
I mean, like a chair to get into the good
Like a chair lift if somebody didn't have the ability to walk, was my thought. I don't know. I mean, it could be just like, I don't know, a laundry elevator on that wall. I don't know. I just think that that's interesting
Yeah.
because it seems to stick out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's see. That's a
Kevin said
duplicate.
no.
Kevin said no to what?
Yeah.
It being a lift?
Yeah.
You got to remember, I can't see the screen. I can't even see what I look like because I'm on a secondary screen sharing all this. So, and what is this?
That's what I wonder about. When I was looking at pictures, this picture drew my attention. I'm not sure where.
Is that the attic or something?
I
Or
don't.
maybe the basement?
I'm not sure. It's pretty small on my screen too, so it's kind of hard for me to see.
Is that better? Dang. Sorry, I had to ignore a call.
Yeah, it feels to me like it could be an attic because you see how the roof is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was wondering if it was the attic.
Yeah, I do feel like it's definitely top floor because of the way the floor or the ceiling goes.
Or if you remember there's more pictures of the house. It might be a section of the house, but not the
Right.
attic.
As they because it's built in that Gothic style, so it has all of
Correct. Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying, like a top floor or something right there.
He said, couldn't that be the church? I don't know
This
if it
is
had
what we were
church
looking
in
at.
there. We thought it was the attic. That's what he said.
I want to say that there's a church building on site, if I remember right.
That's
Oh, look at that view.
I know, that's pretty.
That is pretty.
That is very pretty. And look at the woodwork. Isn't that amazing? We've already seen that one. And there's a different view. I don't know if this is the same one that Howard sent, but it's a different view of the dining room and a table by the fireplace. It could be the same one, or they could have had multiple rooms, would be my guess. You know, if you've got, 15 rooms inside, and then you've got how many, Jen, did you see how many was outside private huts?
I didn't.
I know that they said that there were private huts outside that like JFK's sister stayed in, but I don't know how many huts are actually there.
I don't either.
And that could be the 20 huts that they're restoring for the spa. I don't know.
So they had huts outside on the grounds that they could stay into?
Private huts, yes. Okay. So here we go.
That's so
beautiful. And this is what I was talking about. So Jen was saying it had the whole Gothic era. Yes. So if you look at these peaks, it could have been any one of these rooms that we were looking at. because
Yeah.
the front, the sides, and the back all have that peak.
Yeah.
Or I guess it could have been like this end down here, maybe in an attic area, but it almost looks like these are rooms. So the attic area to me probably is more crawl space than anything, but I don't know. I've never been there.
Eileen said, I just realized what time it was.
Oh yeah, she's the one who called me that I had to ignore her call.
I
Sorry.
know. It came across the screen. Eileen. Oh, Francis. Fitzgerald. Which one's that? The man?
Oh.
Yeah.
No,
That's
this is a woman, and she stayed there as a patient. She suffered from depression.
Oh,
She had-
that was his wife, right?
not the owner, no.
Oh, okay.
This is just somebody famous that stayed there.
He was an author.
Author, okay.
And weren't they big back in the jazz era? I mean, they were basically, I believe, yeah. Jazz era symbols is what I wrote down as a side note. So her and F. Scott Fitzgerald were big into jazz.
Wow.
She had 3 mental breakdowns
Wow.
before going to this facility. Let's see. I'll find where I'm at. I'm assuming that is the Fitzgeralds, because Howard said that he sent me a picture of them too. So I'm assuming that is Zelda
Yes.
and Scott. And they were a member of the elite society for sure.
Oh, wow. She's
There she
beautiful.
is.
She is pretty.
Those eyes tell a story.
For sure. For sure. Oh, that's Howard.
Oh,
My bad. My bad. That's what happens when my friends send me photos. They saved my computer. I can think of worse things that we could have been looking at. The unholy trinity and the pictures we share on there. So I think, let me look and see. I'm going to stop sharing, but you guys can talk about it while I go back and review and make sure I got all the photos Howard sent.
So
But,
Stephen had mentioned like it's a strange design inside or a strange layout. And I keep being drawn to the peaks from like an energetic standpoint because they're very narrow, right? And that's where a lot of energy can become stagnant and can become not necessarily stuck, but stagnant, I guess is the word that I want to use because the rooms are not open. So it makes me think about those parts when we talk about it supposedly being haunted or holding energy. I go back to the design of it and the layout of it because it's laid out perfectly to be able to hang on to stagnant energy.
Yeah. It is a weird shaped kind of rooms and design.
Oh, here's one. Okay.
It's really pretty house. I mean, a pretty building.
Beautiful.
Yes, it is.
Here's one that I found kind of interesting. Hang on.
Yes, I did, Kevin.
Share.
That's
Now look
pretty.
at that. Look at that fireplace and look at the woodwork that surrounds it.
Did y'all hear that moan?
It sounded like a dog growling to me.
No, that wasn't my dog.
Really?
No.
I guess I didn't hear it.
I mean, I heard it, but
You
it
heard
sounded
was
like a
real-
dog growl.
No, it was like real faint. It was like. like that, but that ain't Hades.
Okay. I see. I don't know, Jackie. Maybe you got something going on there, girl.
And my phone's not on, so it ain't had nothing to do with my phone.
Yeah. Believe we shared all
It
those.
did sound like a crowd, didn't it?
So here's a better one. Let's see.
Kevin said yes. You heard it, Kevin?
I'm telling you, it sounded like a dog to me. It may not have been your dog, but it sounded like a dog to me.
Was it your dog?
And he's outside, girl.
Jennifer, you got a dog in there with you?
No.
Did Billy bring his dog along, Jen?
Kevin
No.
said, yep, he heard it too.
My dog and my kids know when the door to the office is shut, they stay way away.
Here's a better picture.
Yeah.
A better
Wow.
close-up picture of the architecture of the actual building. And look at all the chimneys. Like every peak has chimneys. Well, the middle one has 2.
Yep.
From what we can see.
That looks like somebody in the window.
I was going to say, and I just now noticed that. I wonder if that's the window that they say that you can see
Doesn't it look like somebody in the window?
somebody standing there.
Yeah.
Kind of does.
Well, there were deaths in that home, in that facility.
Now, see, I didn't read that, so tell us a little bit about that. That was not in the articles that I read.
Really? So there were actually a couple. Frances Seymour, who is Jane Fonda's mother, committed suicide in that facility.
Wow.
In a very horrendous way, actually. She cut her throat with a razor. And that was shortly after, I believe, I'm trying to remember this right, she was served divorce papers. It was a couple of months after she was served divorce papers, if I remember correctly. So that was I read 2 different things about that. There's some discrepancies if it was 1942 or 1950. And I believe that it was 1950 and she was 42 years old. I think the articles just kind of mess that up. But so she did die in there. And also there was a gentleman named Robert Wilson who purchased it in 2003. He was a hedge fund manager. And I believe he jumped out of a window. He jumped out of a window when his stocks and everything went crazy. I don't know if you guys remember that rash of like suicides from all those hedge fund managers. He was one of them, and he was in that place. He owned that place, and he jumped out of one of those windows. So I can see that happening.
Wow.
I can see where there's definitely some residual energy in there. I believe there was another person. I didn't write it down, but there were 3 of them that I remember. But Frances Seymour is one that just kind of really
Stuck out.
Yeah, it really did. That's pretty gruesome. That's a pretty hard way to go.
Yeah, for sure. That's tragic. But so that brings me to there's always rumors or always suggestion that when you have places like hospitals or mental health facilities, that the spirits of other patients, visitors, doctors, nurses, whatnot, are suggestive to the living in those facilities. So do you think that potentially the suicide may have been pushed not just by the circumstance, but by the energy that was there?
I don't feel that in that place. I'll be honest with you. I don't feel it about that place. I feel like it's just circumstantial. And that was where he was. One thing I do feel, though, looking at that building is, again, I go back to those peaks. I do feel like it's probably very kind of it has a lot of windows, but I feel like it's pretty dark inside. I don't feel like there's a lot of natural light that gets into a lot of those places. And I
Yeah.
feel like you may feel claustrophobic and that stagnant energy in just because of the layout and the way that that's built. And I believe that that can definitely contribute to just overall mental health, which is interesting because it's a mental health facility. But I see a lot of things in the architecture that make me feel a little bit claustrophobic and a little bit
Enclosed.
enclosed. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I think that that energy, and I think that residual energy, let's look at the fact that it is a sanatorium, right? So we have
Yeah.
depressed people in there, we have people with all sorts of mental illnesses going on, and that collective energy is still going to be there in a residual way. It's going to stay there. It's going to collect in these areas where it can't really free flow and go out. So that being said, I think the energy side of it could definitely, just the energy of the home, but a spirit suggesting it, I don't feel that so much.
And maybe it was my wording. So that's kind of what I was saying was, like the residual energy that exists based on what was there and what is there
Sure.
can affect the living.
Yes, absolutely.
So, for instance, you have somebody that is depressed already. They're clinically depressed. They're there because of that. Like you said, she got divorce papers. So let's say she was teetering, but then the overwhelming energy that could have existed in that moment or whatever room she was staying in, or heaven forbid she was in the basement at any given point in one of those holding cells. I would say that that could push her over, not the one collective spirit, but just
Sure.
the energy that was there and exists.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, imagine that you're in this place. You're of sound enough mind to know where you are, though, right? I mean, had sound enough mind to understand where she was, and and so I got to tell you, like with her, I feel like she was going to go home. As much as they tried to make it like a home, it wasn't home.
Right.
She knew she was in a hospital. She knew she was in a facility. And then to get those divorce papers, imagine the despair. Is this where I'm going to be forever? Where am I going to go? What happens to me now? And couple that with the energy of just, and the despair of just being in there, the energy, the despair of the other people, even though it was a progressive place as far as the treatment went, it was still a hospital.
Right.
We're still there for mental health. There's still things going on. So definitely the energy of the whole thing, the vibe of the whole thing could impact those decisions.
Definitely. I completely agree with that. I found another photo that I had that was an older, I'm assuming the building is what we were looking at was I would assume back in its prime.
Yes, because it was a beautiful picture.
This one looks like it could be current. It has broken windows. It's all grown up.
Kevin said, "Do you know how many women and men died there?"
I don't know. I don't know that. You know that, Chrissy?
I know because, like I said, none of the articles that I read actually stated that anybody had died in that facility. And I've probably read 8 articles. Jackie, can you hit share so they can see the photo?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Don't you think because it was such a richy place to go that maybe they kept all that unknown that if somebody
Well, and see, that's a good point, Jackie. I mean, so those that are among the elite keep secrets well.
yes.
They keep things very private. So maybe they didn't want those impressions or secrets or anything. I don't know. It's hard to say because I'm like with Jennifer. Until Howard showed me those photos of the cells in the basement, I really was impressed with this facility. Like, I got nothing bad vibes from any of the articles or any of the photos that I pulled of this place until those cages. And that's what blew my mind.
They hide
Because
stuff. You just don't know
even
what's going on behind closed doors.
exactly, and even if you have somebody who is schizophrenic or manic or com- doing self harm, I can't imagine putting them in what appeared to be smaller than a jail cell. I
Right. But
mean,
you have to look at the time. Like, you have to look at the time period. I mean, they did, like, this Rosemary Kennedy is a perfect example of that. They hid her away. Like, literally, they hid her away because she had this disability, which of course they made worse by giving her a lobotomy, which was botched, which is a horrible, terrible story. But talking about them hiding them away, yeah, exactly. Her family didn't come see her for 20 years. So there
so sad.
is a lot of, there is a lot of that. I also read where Marilyn Monroe spent some time here. Did you read that?
So the articles that I read just gave a snippet. It didn't say why, it didn't say when. It just said that she possibly was there.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
Jackie Gleason was treated there.
He,
He frequented there so much and liked it so much there. They said it was suggested that he went there to sober up and dry out.
right.
But he donated a pool table.
Yes. He
To the
donated a
facility.
pool table, which is still there, I believe.
Correct. Which I couldn't find a photo of that. And I totally wanted to find that, but I couldn't find it. And I hope that they keep it there for the hotel because that's part of history. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin's asking about kids, and I don't know that they treated kids. I believe that this was more of adults. We were talking earlier about they brought kids in, but that was part of therapy. That was part of just interacting with kids. I could be
That
wrong.
was part of them normalizing
Yes.
children being out in the yard playing,
Yeah.
swimming. So trying to make it that homey feel.
Right. I didn't see where they treated children.
No. It out of the articles that I read, I didn't see anything. That's not to say that they weren't, but you got to remember again, this was an elitist facility. This was the top of the line facility. This was the very first privatized mental health facility in the US. So only those with power, money, and names initially stayed there.
And so I was reading, it was $150 a week when it opened.
And that's
so 1950,
crazy.
that was a chunk of change, right?
Yeah. Back then, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
So,
nowadays you're talking $7,000 a day, and that's not even for a privatized.
right.
That's with insurance paying that. But yeah,
I don't get it though. I mean, they had those cages down there and all these rich people coming in. I just don't get why the cages was down there.
I'm sure when they took tours, those was not part of the tour.
Maybe they had a separate room on the side down below somewhere, and they just hid those crazy ones down there in those cages.
Well, it's like Kevin is saying, but what is normal back then? I mean, it was
That's
still
true.
a step up from the treatment that they were receiving previously, which, I mean, if
They
we
were
look
chained to beds. They were chained to beds. Back
yes,
in the
we
day.
look back. I mean, and so being in a cage is a step up from being chained to
Wow.
I mean, we really have to look at it like that. So if let's say they are schizophrenic or they're having something where they might hurt somebody or hurt themselves, it could be looked at as protective. It could be looked at the best option at the time and be a step up from, yes, being chained to a bed.
Okay, but
So-
you're gonna have psychic. I mean, you're gonna be like having all these symptoms of having it, and then you're gonna have a tent outside to go live in. Come on.
A what?
A tent
Did-
outside.
Well,
What?
But you know, they had huts, right? Outside.
Some of them.
Yes, but when I say hut, it's like a bungalow. It's a building.
A building outside to go
Yeah.
stay by themselves. But
Well, this
this
was for
their
people who had the mental capacity to be on their own and probably were not suicidal, didn't have a
Right.
history of self-harm, but it could have even been those that needed round
maybe
the clock personal nurse care, and a nurse stayed in that hut with them.
it could be the rich people, like the ones we talked about, like Marilyn Monroe.
Well, who was it? Rosemary Kennedy. The article that I read, it said that she was in one of those personalized huts and had her own private nurse.
Oh, really?
So she was out there, but she had someone with her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And
I
I
don't know.
believe Zelda had one as well, right? Zelda Fitzgerald.
I believe so. I believe so.
I think I read that somewhere.
And I don't know about Jackie Gleason. I didn't see anything about the private hut for him.
He was probably just hanging out around the pool table.
Probably was.
The fireplace. He was totally fine with whatever,
Chilling with everybody.
right?
He might have been playing the piano, that pipe organ in there.
Yeah. Talking about Zelda, though, I did read where the last letter that she wrote, the last thing they can ever find that she wrote, the last letter she wrote home, she wrote from the Craig house, that she was done with treatment, that she was ready to go home. And for whatever reason, then she was moved from there to, was it Highland? I don't remember where she was moved to. And yes, it started on fire. She was actually waiting for electroshock therapy or something, and she burned to death in her room. So that is really sad. Like when she was there, she was ready to go home. She was feeling better. And I believe it was for financial reasons or something that she was moved from there, from what I was reading. So that's kind of a sad story about her being there.
It is.
Linda, I don't believe they used electric shock therapy in this institution.
There wasn't a whole lot of information, Linda, out there as to all the treatments that they used. They were trying to create a more homey, more empathetic, more
humane.
That's a good word. Environment. They were copying a facility. Where did I say that was at? Jen, did you write that down? I wrote it down.
No.
Let me look and see. Named after a psychiatric facility in Scotland, with the main focus was having patients in a home-like environment and treating them like family as opposed to patients. So, yeah. So they were modeling something from Scotland when they created this, with the ideology that, it shouldn't be a hospital setting. It shouldn't feel like a hospital setting. It should feel like home. You shouldn't make them feel like they're sick, but make them feel like they're at home. Which mind over matter somewhat. I mean, so
right.
Truly, that's
and honestly, at that time, people that had mental illness or had some kind of disability, they were literally shunned. Sometimes their family wanted nothing to do with them. And so putting them in a home environment, I think, is amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Probably the only home and love and whatever that they felt. Yes, there were cages in the basement. I mean, but I still feel like that was probably a step up from treatment they would have received elsewhere.
So the use of huts was way less stigmatic than a hospital. Well, the huts is like little bitty houses outside. So, I mean, you have your basically own little apartment type deal. Definitely less stigmatic. I can't even say that word.
Stigmatic. And a sense of independence and learning, like I think that the whole idea of it is fabulous. Now,
It
I
is.
don't know exactly how it was executed. I really don't. Everything that I've read said that it was great. I
That it
really,
was a good place to be, that they had top of the line care and top of the line staff. And that's what I'm saying. Every article I read, there was nothing negative said about this facility. Nothing.
yeah,
But
you're right.
again, it was the rich and the elite. So were there things that they absolutely knew about but they ignored? It's
Could be.
possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's
But Kevin's
possible.
right. He's saying today people are on the street. Like that stigma still exists. It
Yeah.
really does.
Wow.
In the treatment of people that have any, mental illness and stuff like that, that stigma still exists. And I think it's really sad.
Well, and again, working in mental health for almost 5 years, I can tell you that there are programs out there now where people go from inpatient to a step up to a program where they're put into a housing facility where it's apartments that are all together, but they're set on standards and goals, and it's a step-by-step program that is 18 to 24 months. So, and this is
Hmm.
once they're released from a complete lockdown inpatient unit. So, I mean, I would say that that standard is based on what they did with the huts, basically, because they
Yeah.
wanted them to feel independent. They wanted them to feel like, okay, you're not stuck in a hospital room in a hospital bed. You're being treated. You're still living some sort of normalcy for them who were being treated.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what year did it close? 19.
The hospital
Yeah.
itself,
Yeah.
I believe in 99. And then it was bought by this hedge fund manager in 2003.
Yeah, I don't think I wrote the exact date down. It was the 90s, though.
Yeah,
She's
I believe
probably
it was
right.
99 that the hospital was no longer a hospital.
Less traumatizing and easier to talk
So
about.
one person, and it's called Abandoned but Not Forgotten, and it's talking about it, and it said that he was a patient there at the Craig House in 1995. He was 15 years old. Um, he was writing a story about it, and it said that it's odd how I was transferred out of there without warning. I hated it there. I was completely drugged and had no idea why. And
Hmm.
that's what one of them wrote. They wanted to tell this story at the Craig's house about the Craig's house.
Well, what I think is interesting is I don't, it was in operation for a lot of years, right? So it changed hands, it changed doctors. So I guess we really don't know, right, exactly what happened. What we do know is that the concept of it when it was built into this institution was to be good. So, like, I don't know. That's sad.
It said that his mom, every time his mom saw him, he looked like a zombie there. So that's what I'm saying. You don't know because it was a richy place to go,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And the rich has had secrets. They have their own little secrets to do.
That's true. That's very true. I
That's why I
mean,
said some of the comments they wrote in here about how they were treated in there. I read some comments about it. That's why I
Yeah,
wanted to bring it up.
yeah, I'd like to see that. Will you send me that link? Because the stuff I was reading
Some
was
of it was good, but then you hear some of it where it was bad. I put it in Hey Boo.
yeah, I want to see that too, for sure.
I just kept reading and said, "Oh, I
Distinguish,
had." Let me see. Kept reading.
distinguishing if a person is high functioning is a term I've heard more and more. Well, yeah, it is. But it's that providing that independence if they're able to care for themselves enough to be put in those huts or apartments or halfway house or whatever the situation may be.
But I mean, they're saying now, before what, 2023, people can go investigate it. If I lived in New York, I'd be happy to go investigate it.
Well, it did say that if you wanted to get your investigation in, you're going to have to do it before the hotel opened in 2023. Now, I don't know if the article was being funny when it said that, because again, there are claims of cries and screams and the lady in the window that can be seen.
I just can't believe we can't find nothing of anybody going to investigate it.
Well, and again, I didn't dig a whole lot. I was fascinated by the history and by the mindset, and really, I mean, they were like 100 years ahead of what mental health was. You know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
they took it, they brought it to the forefront and said, it's not okay the way these state hospitals and mental health facilities are operating. We're going to do things different. Unless I find other things that say otherwise, which I want to read what you watched, or I want to watch it and see, because like I said, I didn't get any bad vibes off any of the stuff I read or any of the pictures I saw.
Yeah.
So, but that's not to say the bad stuff didn't happen, because you never know.
Everybody has their own little secrets.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Don't
all
you
three
think?
of us, all three of us go to the same facility to be treated at the emergency room. Do you think all three of us are going to have a phenomenal time? No.
No.
We're all going to have a different experience. Was it?
Yes.
Exactly.
What I was just about to say. Everybody experiences things differently, so there's that too.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Linda. I was trying to read and talk all at the same time.
Let's see, the movie was based on a real family resort, lake
Thanks,
resort.
Shannon.
What was this? The movie was based on a real family resort. The lake resort was a famous Ford driver. So it's all one out.
Stephen, you're right. There are some facilities that over medicate, and that's still not okay. Again, that's one of the main reasons why state hospitals were closed. VA isn't the best about caring for our veterans neither.
It's
And there,
terrible. You don't even have to be in a facility to be over medicated, to be honest.
that's
If you
true.
go in with a problem, they are going to throw stuff at you. I've been there. I've been in that situation. It was terrifying when I looked one day at the medicine cabinet and realized just exactly what they were giving me, all of these pill bottles. And then I had to make this decision for myself, because if I went back in, it was just going to be a different pill to try. So yeah, now just medication seems to be the thing.
Yeah. They're treating the symptoms, not the illness.
Right. Medication on top of medication on top of medication.
Yeah. Which I think is problematic in and of itself.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Jackie, it's 8:03, love.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So,
That time.
so thank y'all for
Linda,
coming
it's called,
in.
sorry, Linda, it's called the Craig House. And yes, it's in New York.
Thanks for watching, everybody. And like I said, we were doing this because this month was Suicide Prevention Month. So if you have any problems, you need to talk to anybody, just call anybody. I mean, people will be out there to help you.
Call out.
Huh?
Call me.
Call
So it
Howard.
goes,
He
Stephen.
said you will help. Call Howard. He said he will help you. But thank y'all for coming in and watching our show. And y'all have a great week. And we see you
Night.
next week. Good night.
Peace, love, and kindness.